Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what day trading opportunities there may be. You're going to see my analysis and my strategy, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Starting off here on the daily, we have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. Right, so what can we see on the daily? Of course we can see Friday ended with a doji, which shows some deceleration at that point after the massive bearish Thursday that we had. Inversely on DXY, it's the same. Of course, we had a doji, right? Friday usually ends as a doji on the end of the week, so that's not too much of a surprise, but it can show some deceleration as well. On DXY, we came up into this imbalance here. We haven't completely filled it, but that's where we're showing our signs of possible stalling in price, right? So if price is decelerating, it happens to be doing that within an imbalance, which is a confluence for us. So on DXY, you can see after this bearish day on Thursday, we left behind an imbalance. This may be a draw on price on the higher time frame. So price may well need to fill this imbalance if it is going to continue downwards, or it's just going to fill it and continue going with that trend. We don't know yet, but it's just important to note we have this imbalance which possibly needs filling and may draw price, and it's the same on DXY. What else do we have? We have our previous daily highs and lows. On EU, you can see that neither has been swept. However, on DXY, we can see already that the previous daily high, which is also the previous weekly high, has been swept and looks to have been rejected somewhat. So that's everything for the daily. Let's drop down to the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour chart, again, you can see Thursday, bearish run, Friday, consolidation, price went sideways. It was a terrible price action day. Now above price here, as on the daily, we have this massive imbalance which could draw price to fill, right? This possible new bearish leg, it's still within this external bullish leg on EU. However, internally, as I said in my previous video, you can see we've broken this low. So on the 1 hour, this will be a bearish leg. So now this would be more a premium of price, right? So to fill this imbalance, we would need to seek out the premium after now mitigating this 4 hour order block here. We also have our SMC divergence. You can see it's happened again today. Right, we have our SMC divergence, which is showing strength on EU because EU has refused to make a lower low where DXY has made a higher high. So we've made a higher high today, taking a previous daily high, previous weekly high, sweeping that buy side liquidity. Right, so that looks like a run on stop losses and buy side liquidity, whereas EU refused to make that lower low, showing strength, which shows some intention to maybe come back to a premium or continue to trend from this point here. Either way, it's given us confluences that we are possibly bullish and these draws on price will be filled. So if we look at DXY again, of course on DXY we are also in a 4 hour POI confluence area after taking that buy side liquidity, and we have our POIs in the discount, the sell side liquidity POIs in the discount, which may draw price. So those two together are obviously painting a picture that we could go higher on EU and lower on DXY at this point, especially with our SMC divergence, which may be signaling that weakness on DXY after taking this buy side liquidity. Just things to note, we do obviously have further discount POIs here, but they aren't my concern at the moment. However, if price obviously does fail and come lower, these will be our areas of interest. Now the 1 hour chart should make everything I just discussed on the 4 hour a bit more clearer. We have our bearish leg here, which broke this previous low here. So we have our lower low now. Price had come into this 1 hour order block, which is also a 4 hour order block. And we have our SMC divergences here. As you can see, price stalled at this area, refused to make that lower low where DXY made the higher high, and again today refused to make that lower low here where DXY made that higher high and swept buy side liquidity. We are in a discount of this leg and even of this larger 4 hour leg, right? So usually in the discount, price will seek out a premium. We have our premium POI draws on price. Ultimately the highest one is up here, but we also have these imbalances all the way up that price could fill and be drawn to. I've just drawn this one out because it is the extreme. We have the same on DXY, obviously. We have our extreme POI here and all these imbalances to fill. We can see this morning, of course, buy side liquidity swept here, sell side liquidity swept here. It wasn't the previous daily and weekly low, as we know, because we've got this divergence, but there was some sort of sweep of sell side liquidity, and prices seeked out buy side liquidity, which would be above these highs and ultimately this high here. Now, if this is the possible turning point for a new internal trend, aka a pullback, right, we have this high created, we've pulled back, failed to make a new low. So then if we are going to continue bullish, this is a weak high, so it's a good liquidity point to target. We've got all the confluences I've mentioned so far on side with buy side liquidity and sweeps and SMC divergence. Of course, as I mentioned before, we have our other POIs above price here, which, you know, could ultimately lead to price continuing lower on EU or higher on DXY. But at the moment, price is giving us confidence and signs to give us a pullback higher, at least temporarily, to this previous daily high, I would imagine. So let's go down to the M15 and see if there's any opportunities that I can see so far today. So immediately on the M15, there's an opportunity I see this morning. Now it has a host of confluences which go along with the ones that I've mentioned, but also, you know, it has its negatives, right? So let's get into this opportunity here. You can see I've already drawn it out because I was considering it. So price this morning in London Open, we've broken above these previous highs here, right? We've broken above Asia, we're above New York from yesterday. Price left behind a 15-minute POI and fair value gap. It's had an inducement because of that corrective price action. And there's a 1 hour order block there. Let me go back up in case it wasn't clear. There's a 1 hour order block here left behind by price. So we can see with our SMC divergence, we had some more this morning in Asia as well. And our buy side liquidity has been swept on DXY. Now I would have preferred if EU had maybe swept these lows before breaking above. That to me would be a great confluence. But DXY has of course swept that buy side liquidity and is possibly giving the signal for us to continue lower on DXY, which ultimately moves EU. Now that's the major issue I see with this trade, is that the OB didn't sweep sell side liquidity itself. We have of course collected the buy side liquidity from these internal lower time frame highs, and ultimately this is the bigger target, right? That is the 15-minute leg. We pulled back, we didn't break this low, so I would imagine this to be the weak high. So the trade does look good to me. Another negative is on DXY, we have our 15-minute order block, which is in line with this one here on EU, but we also have above that another one which caused that initial breakdown. So DXY may pull back further to fulfill this, and ultimately they may knock you out of the trade. The stop loss I think is in a good place below these lows, because it may just continue lower if it was to take us out there. So I think that's a safe stop loss. I think this trade is decent. It's all right. It's coming back with a bit of momentum now, which isn't great, but I do like this opportunity for buys. This is a great place for buy opportunities, obviously. So if price comes down into there, and I would just take profit at the tops here, because it's probably going to hold some sort of large pullback after that, I imagine. But yeah, that's the opportunity I see immediately this morning. I'd want DXY to catch up and be a bit more in sync with EU, but that's the first opportunity I see for buyers. Again, for more buys, if this doesn't work out, we're going to want to see some lows swept here, or preferably down here, and then we'd want to see our structure be created, right? Break above, pull back, and then possibly continue that trend higher. For sells, we're going to want to see this high go, at least this high go, because I imagine it's going to cause some sort of pullback, whether it's temporary or not, and then we can head lower. Right, I don't know if the trend will continue from here because we're still in a discount, but you might get some temporary pullback to take some sell side liquidity first. We're still in the discount, as you can see by here, and then ultimately any more sells I'd want from probably up in this area. Price to come into that POI, create structure, and then we can try and continue lower if that's what price is indicating. So that's the opportunities that I see. I hope that was clear. Hope you gained value from that. Again, this is the most obvious first opportunity here. The major missing thing for me would be the EU sell side liquidity sweep here. We swept it in Asia and we have our SMC divergence, but it would have been nice if the actual order block area itself swept that sell side liquidity, and obviously the buy side liquidity internally we've taken. So if you've got any questions, let me know. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.